Hey everybody, welcome to Sunday. Welcome to the live show. I'm glad you're with us here today. A few things going on this week. Tomorrow, the full CX50 video drops. So Andrew and I did a quick little walk around of this CX50. I don't know, it seems like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago already. So the full review drops tomorrow morning. So when you wake up, you can watch that on your way to work, after work, whenever you want, but watch it. And the MDX Type S video went out yesterday morning. What else is going on? Oh, the next day, on Tuesday, we're putting together a CX50 versus CX5 comparison. So how are they different? How are they similar? So watch that one. Then on Wednesday or Thursday, I'm not sure what day it is, we're going to put out the Nissan Rogue with the new 1.5 liter turbo 3-cylinder engine, which is shockingly good. So that's coming up. And then on Saturday, we're going to put out one of our top 5 videos. Top 5 subcompact luxury crossovers. So we did the non-luxury ones last time. This time we're putting out the luxury versions. Don't forget to sign up if you're in the market for a used car. Use CanadaDrives.ca, and they're a sponsor of the channel. You can shop for your car online. You can get approved for your loan online. You buy the car online, and then they deliver the car to you. Sometimes the same day and often the next day in a covered trailer on the back of a truck, and away you go. It's that easy. And also for brand new cars, so Canada Drives is for used and carcostcanada.com is for new. If you're in the market for a new car and you want to find out what the dealer paid for the car, any discounts, rebates, incentives, any of that kind of stuff, sign up using the promo code MOTORMOUTH. Go to canadadrives.com, use the promo code and become an expert member. All right. We have some pictures we're going to get to here in a second. Don't forget, if there's just have to have your question answered, you can always do a super chat. So just underneath where you type in your question, there's a little $sign there. It makes a small contribution to the channel, but it flags it for me to read. So I'll get to those as we go through, along with regular comments. And don't forget, if you want to get a picture through for the live show of your car, Zach at motormouth.ca, ZACK at motormouth.ca, or ZACK at motormouth.ca, depending on where you are. Okay, so we do have some pictures here. Where are we here? The first one is, this is from Sarah. Just sent this in just moments ago. Sarah is feeling pretty smart because Sarah picked up a 2020 Toyota Highlander hybrid, and they're enjoying the fuel economy. And anybody who's bought a hybrid or a plug-in or anything like that is certainly feeling pretty smart these days. Speaking of that, here's another one. Here is a RAV4 hybrid. This is from Steve, who's got a RAV4 hybrid, just picked it up, enjoying great fuel economy. In my opinion, the RAV4 hybrid, starting at $33,000 in Canada, is the best vehicle value out there. There's nothing can touch it. It's a Toyota, it's a hybrid, proven reliability, and you've got it in a compact crossover for 33 grand. That's like the best deal going. All right, next up, this is from Eldon with his 2003. It's a 330i, so it's got the right engine in there with a more powerful version, with a manual transmission, and it is a convertible. So that is a nice car and certainly a keeper. Our next picture comes from, this is Deepak, who sent us pictures of his brand new Porsche Macan S. And I don't know why I didn't frame it perfectly there, but anyway, he's got this just for a short while. He picked it up at Porsche Center, Vancouver, and is very happy with it. The Macan S, I think, is kind of like the sweet spot in the Macan lineup. So you get the previous generation GTS motor at the Macan S price point. Now, granted, it's expensive, but it is one hell of a car with 375 horsepower. And our last one comes from, this was sent in by Dave Reimer, longtime friend of the channel. He spotted this. It's a short bed, short cab Chevrolet pickup truck. And you don't see very many of those around anymore because everybody gets the biggest possible one. All right. We do have some super chats already, I believe, which is very generous of you. Thank you very much. My T-Bird sent one in. Channel support for a good show. Appreciate that, Mr. T-Bird. And then we have another one here. Here's Ben. Hey, Zach, global, let me just close a few things here that are in my way. Global car production is plummeting again due to intense component shortages, not just ships. Some dealers not even taking orders. Not good. Yep. So we have a bunch of things. The one I forgot about last week, which is actually a big deal, is Japan. This didn't make front page news because of the war going on in Ukraine, but Japan about 2 weeks ago now had a 7.2 magnitude earthquake. Because of that, there was a bunch of production shortages at 11 Toyota factories, for example. Think about that. 11 production facilities shut production for about a week. A lot of them have come back online. Then you have the chip shortage. Then you have Eastern part suppliers out of Ukraine that make wiring harnesses for a lot of the German car manufacturers, and just general shortages in materials. Then on the EV front, you've seen the prices of lithium and of nickel shooting way through the roof. The input prices for vehicles has gone up a lot over the last little while. So there was an article and a note done by Morgan Stanley saying that the increase in prices for electric car battery components could actually curtail the adoption of EV vehicles because of it, which is back to my point. That's why I believe that hybrids are the best. If we really want to get serious about reducing the amount of emissions and carbon we put into the atmosphere, instead of having anywhere from 2 to 5% of the population using zero fuel with pure electrics. Wouldn't it be better if we had 30, 40, 50% of the entire market using 20, 30% less fuel with hybrid vehicles? And for an example, typical battery electric vehicle today has over a 70 kilowatt hour battery. And do you know what the size of hybrid battery is? It's about 1.5 kilowatts. So you just think of how many batteries you could make for hybrids using just one battery pack for an electric car. You spread that over the tens of millions of people driving cars, and you could have a real impact on the environment. And that's been Toyota's assertion, and I kind of agree with that. Plus, the great thing about hybrids is there's no adoption of anything other than you just drive the car, and they can be driven in any part of the world without infrastructure to support them. So that's why I like them. Here's one from Kayla Payne. If you were trying to decide between a Honda CR-V Touring and a Subaru Premier, which would you choose? Now, I'm not sure which Subaru you're talking about. Is that the Forester or the Outback? The only issue I have, Kayla, with the CR-V, it is at the very end of its run. This product is now old. It's going to be replaced probably by the end of this year. Well, they've already made announcements about where the vehicle is going to be manufactured here in Canada, where it has been for years, but they're adding a hybrid now to it. So there's a couple of things to think about. If you're not in a rush and you don't need a car right away, plus it's a terrible time to be out there shopping for a car, competing with everybody else. If you don't need to, maybe pause the car buying decision until the fall, till we start to see what the new CR-V is going to look like, what the potential is for what changes are to the vehicle, and hopefully get our hands on one to drive. So that's all going to be coming through the fall of this year. And at that point, you can decide, okay, I really want to wait for the new one. I think it looks great and it's everything I want in a new car. Or you might be able to get a great deal on the old stock of the existing CR-V. So I would hate for you to buy, with your hard-earned money, a brand new CR-V and know that there's something new and better coming. Now, there's nothing wrong with having the old model if you know that. And you hopefully can get a good deal when the new ones come in. So Kayla writes back and says Forester. I'm a huge fan of the Forester. I think it's a wonderful product, and I think they do functionality better than anybody. The CR-V is a very functional vehicle. I've called it the Swiss Army knife of utilities many times. But the Forester, I think, has a much nicer interior, lots of soft materials on the dash, bigger screens. For example, the CR-V currently only has a 7-inch touchscreen. Most of the Foresters, the one you're looking at, has the larger 8-inch touchscreen. The materials are nicer, easy to get kids in and out of it if that's what you're using it for. So that's my answer. If you're not in a rush, wait. And if you are in a rush, I would say Forester. Or get hopefully a deal on a CR-V. Here's another super chat from Jerome, our pal from Quebec. being very impressed with the Prius all-wheel drive e-test drive. So if you're not aware, the Prius is available with an all-wheel drive version. They have a small electric motor that just powers the back wheels. But as I said last week, it's better than having nothing. What's Jerome saying here? Let me cut him off here. So much, my girlfriend is thinking of grabbing one of them instead of a hybrid RAV4. Your take on this one? Well, listen, they both have the same idea. Like a RAV4 hybrid is also using the same kind of setup with just more powerful electric motor. So what I would suggest is, knowing that you live in Quebec with the kind of winters that you get, a RAV4 might be a better idea just for ground clearance. But if you can live with a Prius, hey, it's a great product. It uses no gas, and away you go. But yeah, back to what I just said a moment ago. The RAV4 hybrid for $33,000 in the Canadian market is, I think, the best deal on the road. And I still stand by that. I don't think there's a vehicle you could get that offers as much as that offers. So you've got a crossover, you've got lots of space, you've got a Toyota reliability, you've got Toyota hybrid reliability, and it's great on gas. Amazing resale value. There you go. And you sit up above the snow better than you would with a Prius. Nothing wrong with the Prius though. Okay, we got some super chats done. So thank you for all of those. I just wanted to say, we got Kayla's. Now here we go. Javid. Hi, Zach. How many miles Highlander can go with a full of gas tank at highway, and how many miles in city? Thank you. Okay, Javid, I don't have the numbers in front of me. It's not that hard a calculation to do. All you need to do is go to the Toyota website and look up the size of the fuel tank, and then divide it by how many liters or per 100 kilometers, and then you'll get your answer. So the interesting thing is a Highlander hybrid gets pretty much the same fuel economy in the city as it does on the highway. The gasoline 3.5 liter version does not. It gets much better fuel economy on the hybrid than it would in the city. The actual range, I don't have the numbers, but yeah, you go to the website, look at the size of the fuel tank, and then divide it by the fuel economy, and you'll have your answer. Now, these are all estimates because fuel economy ratings are not the real world. They're done basically in a lab setting to get the best fuel economy possible, not the way people really drive them. Okay, Sanjeev is here. Hey, Zach, if you were to choose and why, a 2022 Tesla Y long range or the Kia EV6 GT line, both are nice. Kia reliability, styling, excellent versus Tesla. Well, this is a no-brainer. If you can get the EV6, it's way cheaper, like way cheaper. The Tesla Model Y long range is a lot more money. And you know what? In my opinion, it doesn't have as nice an interior. Sure, it's got the big screen, but that doesn't do anything for me. The rest of the interior is marginal at best for what they're charged for that vehicle. I just think the Tesla is now becoming way overpriced, in my opinion. If you can get an EV6, I would take that. Hey, Zach, not a car question, but a fellow watch enthusiast. I noticed you have an aftermarket bracelet on your Omega Seamaster Uncle Seiko. Oh, by the way, Lista 2022 WRX. There you go. By the way, I'm wearing my Moon watch today because if you're not in the watch world and you're not crazy about watches the way maybe a lot of you are about cars, there was a big release that happened yesterday. So Omega Moon watch, this is the watch that went to the moon, is an icon in the watch industry. One of the most easily recognized watches in the world. And they're not crazy expensive, but they're expensive. And Swatch, the Swatch group that owns Omega, came out with a quartz replica of this watch made of plastic with a quartz movement for $260, and the internet exploded, and people were lined up for 3 or 4 days, camped out to get one, and they cost $260. There was one video, I tried to download it, but it was embedded in Facebook, of somewhere in Asia, there was a herd of people running towards the Swatch store. So anyway, that's the Moon Swatch, it's called. And I saw your question come in before we went to the air, and this is the strap that I have on my Seamaster. It's a Forstner, Forstner, Forstner strap. My brother got me this for my birthday, and yeah, I like it. It's good. There's no issue. It's $150 US. So thanks to my brother for that as a birthday gift. So that's the aftermarket strap I have. Carter's here. Good evening, Zach. Is it a good time to trade up a V6 Mustang for a used GT through Canada Drives, or wait for chip shortage is over and used car market is back to normal? Well, I think anytime you're planning on upgrading with the cost of fuel to a V8, you're probably going to get favorable pricing on a V8 right now, just because of the fuel prices. But that's the only thing I can think of that would maybe affect the price of a Mustang GT. The Mustang GT is head and shoulders a much better car than the V6, and a better car than the EcoBoost version of it. But it is heavy on gas, and there is no. The timing right now for buying cars is not good. But if you can find a deal, if you can go to Canada Drives and find a deal on a GT, why not? It's a totally different experience from driving a V6 Mustang. What are your thoughts on the Porsche EV718? So that's the Boxster and Cayman will be electrified for the next go round. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's going to be. I know all the things about it. It's going to look like a Porsche. It's going to be fast as hell. It's going to drive really well, and it's going to have all the latest tech. I mean, what's not to like? So if I was buying something right now, it would be the last of the 4-liter GTS Boxsters. That's what I would be getting, because those will be collectible. If they're only going to be making them for a few short years, that's what I would want to have. Because once they switch to EV, you'll be able to get one, right? Like EV is going to be the new norm for them, for that sports car. So having anything unique and different, like a GTS, GT4, something like that, will be collectible. Hi, Zach. I reserved a 718 Spider. Well, good for you. That's the high-performance version of the Boxster last November. However, still no allocation due to chip shortage and what's happening between Russia and Ukraine. May I lose the opportunity of allocation? Now, Eddie, I don't know the answer to that. That is a question for your dealer. Lewis from Porsche Center Vancouver sometimes watches on the live show. So, Lewis, if you're watching, you might have an answer for Eddie there. My best advice would be contact your sales manager or sales person at the dealership and get in their ear and say to them, listen, I don't want to lose my allocation. What can we do to ensure that I get the car? So if there's a delay with maybe this model year, make sure you're into next model year. Now, the other part of talking about delays and shortages was the ship that went to the bottom of the Atlantic. Those were all U.S. bound cars from the Volkswagen Group. They included Lamborghinis, Bentleys, Porsches, and Volkswagens. That went to the bottom of the sea, and they're going to be replaced by the Volkswagen Group. So all I can say is work with your dealer and see what they have to say. They have a much better idea of how those allocations are handled. Oh my goodness, I think it actually happened. I think we have Charlottetown Spud, one of my favorite handles. Charlottetown's, if you're not familiar, Charlottetown is in Prince Edward Island, and they're famous for their potatoes. So that's why he has the name Charlottetown Spud. Just curious if you have any cars lined up to review that you're really excited to drive. Cheers from beautiful BEI. Excited to drive and review. Hey, I tell you what. Pretty interesting is we're going to be driving, not this week, but next week, the new BZ4X or the BZ4X, the Toyota electric SUV. So think about a RAV4 size utility, fully electrified, sold by Toyota. So when Toyota, if they put their mind to it and they can actually build some scale, they could do really well with electrified vehicles because they have so much credibility with their name. So that one I'm kind of interested to drive. But thanks for the super chat. Here's Mark with a super chat. I don't see a question from you, Mark, but there you go. Dennis Jones. Dennis, Zach, my daughter will soon be getting her learner's permit. what is safer for her? A small SUV like a RAV4 or a sedan like an Accord? Thanks. So there's passive and there's active safety. So what I would suggest is if you're looking for anything in the used market, and I think for a new car driver, a used car is probably a better bet, just for the fact that they're less expensive, and if it was to go sideways, and I hope that doesn't happen, you want to have the vehicle with the most active safety. So that's the forward collision warning with the autonomous braking. For me, with a new driver, would be a baseline. Didn't have it when I was younger. You didn't have it when you were younger. But now it's a great thing to have. And you've all had this happen. It's happened to me many times. I know it's happened to all of you. You're looking down in your car for your sunglasses, playing with the phone, probably even your phone. And then you look up and it's just a sea of brake lights in front of you. And you jam on the brakes and you're like, holy crap, I hope I don't hit anything. Well, that can all be mitigated now because of forward collision warning and autonomous braking. So at baseline, that should be it. So that's active safety. Then you can add on things like blind spot warning, lane keep assist, all of that stuff that's in fairly modern cars. Then you get into the passive safety. So an Accord is going to be lower to the ground and therefore less likely to roll over. Rollovers really aren't an issue for most people unless you're doing highway driving, a lot of highway driving. Cars fall off the shoulder and then the car can catch and over it goes, and you see that. Cars roll over in the ditch. I would suggest for your daughter driving around town, it wouldn't be an issue. Then you get into mass. And the bigger the vehicle, typically the safer it is. Now, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would suggest an Accord sort of size car and a RAV4 probably are going to be around the same weight, okay? So that's what you're up to. You're up to advanced safety features, the style of car, and then the mass of the vehicle. So if you put your daughter in a Cadillac Escalade, you've got mass. You've got some junk in the trunk that's going to really protect you in the case of an accident. But that aside, either one of them would be fine, in my opinion. Okay, let's go up to the top again. Gordon Winter. Lots of us drive in cold winter climates and wear gloves while driving, no matter how good the heat is in the car. New cars using capacitive buttons, will they work with gloves? Some do. Some do. Some have been actually programmed to work with gloves and some don't. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. You know, I'm with you though. I mean, you know, in a cold climate, you get and you want a big knob there for the radio. You want a big knob for the heat controls. This kind of stuff works. So if that really is a concern for you and wearing gloves, then buy a car that has the big buttons, and it's that easy. Hey Zach, do you think Nissan will set the base price of the Aria under $45,000 to qualify for the EV rebate in Canada? Yes, they will. I don't have any official information on that, but I mean, that's the game. And it really is a game that everybody's in right now. I wish they would I have an idea for an EV rebate. Okay, I'll talk about the Aria first. I emailed Nissan Canada this week and I said, when is it coming? And it's going to be this summer. Okay, they're going to have an event around Aria. Okay, so that's exciting. Nissan has been out of the game with electrification for far too long. They were the first mass-produced electric vehicle maker with the Leaf, and they just let it rot in the vine. They didn't follow up with anything. They could have had such an enormous lead, but they didn't make any money selling electric cars, and that was what Elon Musk did. He proved to people that you can sell a product, make money, and people will line up to buy it. Well done, Elon. That's what you've accomplished. Electric cars now have a place in our marketplace. So the Aria is going to come. It's going to come this summer. Not a chance it's going to be over $45,000 to start with. They'll have one special little trim that gets it under $45,000 to qualify for your and my tax dollars. So I have an idea for electric car rebate. I'll pick Canadian dollars just because this is the system we have. So in Canada, for example, you get $5,000 from the federal government towards buying an electric car if it starts under $45,000. Now, the top trim, it's $45,000 to $55,000, but that's the starting price of that trim. So what a lot of electric car manufacturers do, Toyota does this with the RAV4 Prime. They price their top trim at 40, make that $54,995. So they get it under the $55,000 mark, and then they make a package available. So remember I told you only the starting price has to be under that magic number? So they game the system. So the starting price of the top trim is $54,995. By the way, they put a package on now. If you want all the stuff in it that you want for the top one, that's like $7,000 or $8,000 more. They're gaming the system just to get your tax dollars and mine. So here's what I say about electric car rebates. I'm not a fan, but I don't think they're going away. What I propose is a reverse amount. So I want to get car manufacturers to produce electric cars for people that really need an inexpensive car or a less expensive car that's fully electric. I don't need more upper middle class people in nice neighborhoods buying electric cars as a status symbol and you and me paying for that. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. What I want is an electric car rebate. Here it is. You get the full $5,000 at 40 grand. Okay, so that's going to make the car manufacturers really get their price down to $40,000. It might be a sedan, it might be a hatchback, it might be a small SUV, whatever. I don't care. $40,000, we'll pick that number. And then every $2,000 the price goes up, you lose $1,000 of the rebate. So by the time you get to $50,000, the rebate's gone. Then you're on your own dime. So the cheaper the car, the bigger the rebate. The more expensive the car, less of a rebate. Doesn't that make sense? If you're going to spend 50 grand on a car, you can afford the frickin' car. You don't need my tax dollars to buy your car. The person at the bottom end, think about this. A $40,000 electric car now has $5,000 rebate on it. That brings the price down to $35,000. That's the meat of the market. That's what most people buy. That's the kind of car we need for people who are trying to buy some new technology. That's great. Same thing for provincial rebates. So the province of Quebec just got rid of their rebate. Not rid of it. They brought it down from $8,000 to $7,000. Same thing. So could you imagine this? Say in a province of Quebec you have $7,000 plus $5,000 from the feds. Quick math, that's 12 grand. So on that $40,000 car, that is now a $28,000 car. And every $2,000, that price of that car goes up. The MSRP price, you start losing money, right? So that would make the car companies laser focused on producing inexpensive electric vehicles. That's my idea. Spread it around. I love it. I think it's a good idea. But it's my idea, so of course I think it's good. Of course I think it's good. All right, we have some super chats. I've been talking about electric cars. Let me know what you think. Do you think it's a good idea? My Spankster. That's a good name, My Spankster. Hi, Zach. I'm just not sold on electric cars, especially in the winter months. It's cold, and you're stuck in traffic jam, blizzards. What are your thoughts on reliability of electric cars in winter? Well, electric cars are very reliable because there's not much to really go wrong with them. You have a battery pack, electric motors, and software. That's really what you have at play. And of course, in cold weather conditions, you have a heat pump, and oftentimes you have, they all have friction heating as well. So, in cold climates, Tesla, this past year where we had polar vortexes and temperatures in the prairies of Canada down to minus 40 and 50, their Teslas weren't working. Their heating system wasn't working, the defroster wasn't working, and Tesla has had to bring the cars in and fix them. Apparently the fix was like about $8,000, $9,000 to get that to work. So that's not that common. The systems are made to work. You do lose battery range. No question about it. Anywhere from 20 to 40%, depending on the conditioning of the battery and who's doing it. But they're reliable for the most part. You're just not going to get the range. So I don't have anything more to say than that. But most cars at minus 40 and 50 don't do well. You know, they don't start. You got to plug them in. If you live anywhere that's that cold, you know. Jared with a super chat. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate that. I don't see a question here. So what do you guys think of my reverse rebate? What's the term I used? I was talking to Andrew about this. What would you call it, the reverse rebate? I don't know. I think it's a good idea. Jerome says, I love it. Good idea, but it's still bribing the upper middle class with tax money for individual transportation. Still not a fan. But then we have right now. Yeah, it's better than what we have right now. Listen, I'm here to tell you, you know, like rebates, you know, when the car market was normal, you're never going to get rid of rebates for people to buy cars. People just say, I'm not going to buy it until it's like red flag days or, you know, family pricing days. That's, you know, in normal times when you'd buy a car. So these politicians are trying to buy votes with your money and my money, and they're not getting rid of these things anytime soon. I think the rebates with the reverse idea is the way to go. The biggest rebate is on the cheapest car, not on the most expensive car. So the people who want a plaything and a status symbol, like the Model 3 in Canada now, the Model 3 base model is $63,000. Rear-wheel drive, just 400 kilometers of range. You want the all-wheel drive and the longer range, it's another 10 grand more. So it's $73,000 for a Model 3 with a substandard interior in a form function that's really quite small. I don't get it. But if you want to have that thing parked in front of your house to show everybody, look at me, I'm progressive, I've got a Tesla, go for it. But I would much rather have a lot more people running around with smaller vehicles and have them electrified or hybrids. Back to that point. By the way, for the Canadians that are watching, did you watch Canada qualify for the World Cup? I was watching just before I came down. Now I'm in British Columbia. It's absolute. I was out washing the car today in a shirt sleeve like this. A beautiful sunny afternoon. And it looked like, so it said in Toronto, it was minus 13 degrees Celsius with the wind chill when they were playing the World Cup game. Canada qualified for the World Cup today, the first time since 1986. So we're going to the World Cup. World Cup is going to be starting in November in Qatar. So very exciting. We're very excited. And we didn't even have our best player, Alphonso Davies, playing. So we're all very excited to watch that. Any news on the hybridization of Honda SUV models? Yes, there is news on that. Honda has announced, and the reason we know it's coming is because they did an announcement around production. So Honda has a large manufacturing facility here in Canada. So for years, the Honda Civic has been made in Canada, and alongside that, on a parallel line, is the CRV. So that's the Alliston manufacturing facility north of Toronto. Now, they made an announcement about 6 weeks ago that Alliston, Ontario facility would be the production facility for the new CRV. That's what I talked about earlier for the lady that asked about the CRV. So that has been confirmed. They're going to make the new model there, and they're also going to roll in the hybrid into that factory. So in Canada, we have not had a CRV hybrid. It has been available in the United States, but not available in Canada. It's now going to be produced here, which tells me that they're going full steam ahead with a hybrid version of the CRV as a mainline car. Then you had a major announcement a week or so ago between the Ontario government and the federal government about electrified announcement around that factory. So that leads me to believe that that's not the only step. They didn't announce what it was. They just said there's going to be money invested to bring that factory up to speed. I would suggest there's going to be a plug-in element, not just a hybrid, but down the road a plug-in element, and Canada is going to have the facilities to produce that. So that is good news for manufacturing. So that means, to your question, is there going to be hybridization of their vehicles? Yes. And they have electric cars up their sleeve for 2024 and more. So I think it's going to be exciting times finally to get Honda on board with the kind of technology that we need. I think we have another super chat down at the bottom here. Where are we? Did I miss one? This is from David saying, should one buy a 718 GTS and hold as an investment? Listen, there's no there's no crystal ball about the investment. I mentioned it a moment ago. I truly believe, as somebody who has owned several Porsches, and my friend Cornelius at Core Cars, he gives me cars to drive once in a while. Anytime you have a Porsche that is unique, okay, color, unique spec, and specialized trims, they hold their value really well. Now, is it going to be a long-term investment grade vehicle that's going to go up in value? Well, Porsches historically, over the last 10 years, if they're unique vehicles, they have gone up in value. Now, it's also COVID affected it and a shortage of vehicles, all those sorts of things. The only thing I'll say is Porsche as a brand is expanding. There are more eyeballs on Porsches than ever before, and they don't make a lot of them in relative terms to the size of the marketplace. So yes, they're making more cars than ever, but Porsche as a worldwide car company is a small company. They make several 100,000 vehicles a year, which sounds like a big number, but it isn't. So anytime you can get your hands on something like a Boxster or Cayman GTS, get a fun color, because that's what seems to sell well years down the road. Get a manual, because that's what sells well, not for the first 5 or 6 years, but down the road. That's what enthusiasts are going to want. And enjoy the hell out of it. Keep it in good shape, and it'll be worth quite a bit. I'm not saying it's going to be worth what you paid for it down the road, but it could be, and it could be worth more. But I know this about the brand. You can drive the cars and enjoy them and keep a lot of your money in that vehicle preserved for when you go to sell it. Maybe not all of it, but a good chunk of it. And all of the Porsches we've owned have been some of the best car purchases we've ever made when it comes time to sell them, because you're only paying for the difference between what you paid for it and what you sell it for. And that gap with Porsche, so it's a big number to get into it, right? But once you're into it, they hold their value very well. Does that make sense? Okay. You guys seem to like my. I'll go to the bottom here. I'm gonna put these. I'm just reading some of these here at the bottom. People seem to like the idea of the reverse incentive on the electric cars. I think that's the way to go. I think giving upper middle class people $5-10 grand off their $55,000 car is asinine, totally asinine. Here's Julie. Hi, Julie. Just curious, where do you get your coffee for Questions, Coffee, and Cars? It looks delicious. It's just homemade coffee. That's all it is. It's just Starbucks homemade coffee in a to-go cup that we bought, and we bought. I mean, how did we buy? I think we bought 100 of them. Those brown cups, and the reason why we got those to-go cups is because people were giving us a headache about, why are you drinking Starbucks? We drink Starbucks because we like it. End of story. I have a dream. The dream that the brought back diesels in North America and also made it a hybrid. This is the one time I have to say diesels hurt more than gas with gas prices. It's true. We have a diesel. We have a diesel Cayenne. And right now, diesel prices are more expensive than regular gasoline, about the same as premium gas. Now, the only thing that's making me sleep well at night is knowing that our diesel gets about 30% better efficiency than the gasoline equivalent that would use premium fuel. So we've had 2 diesel cars over the last, how many years now? 8 years. We had an Audi A7 diesel, which is a very rare and fun and great car. And now we have a Cayenne diesel. And through the 8 years, there's only been maybe 2 or 3 times I've put diesel in that it's been more expensive than regular gasoline. But since this fuel spike we've had over the last little while, it's been higher for weeks and even maybe a couple of months now. I think it will settle down eventually, but I just know that even though it's more expensive, it goes way farther than it would if it was using premium gas, which is very expensive, which is also very expensive. Boston Ma, hey man, haven't seen you in a while. Boston has sent in some pictures of his GTI from before. Thoughts on new cars using cheaper feeling plastics and less cars using leather and cars coming with thinner feeling leather. Well, I know you're a GTI guy. The new GTI is a case study in exactly what you're talking about, with one exception. So the new GTI, the new Golf R have this sort of plasticky dash with this touch-sensitive keys and all that kind of stuff. The one area I would say is better on the new GTI and the Golf R is the leather. I think the previous generation GTI and especially the Golf R had cheap-looking leather. The new ones are nicer. So I would agree with that. The one thing you've also got to know about leather is the leather in your car is not, it's leather, but it's got all these coatings on it so that it doesn't fade in the sunlight, it doesn't crack. Like real leather seats from the bygone era would crack and fade, and they didn't hold up well, mostly because of ultraviolet light. Now a modern leather interior is really coating. It's got a coating on it. And so, yeah, there's different grades, but it's not really, it's leather. I tell you what, there's a lot of faux leather seats that are really good, like really good. The faux leather seats that we drove with the Ioniq 5, they were fantastic. So good. I couldn't believe it's not butter. Full EV versus hybrid. What's your preference based on what's available today? Ex Porsche Cayenne e-hybrid versus Taycan. Listen, if you can afford a Taycan and you want a car, these are totally different things. One's a car, one's not. Back to my point, it's got nothing to do with what's better. If you want a pure EV, then get a pure EV. I truly believe that hybrids are the best way to get mass number of people to reduce the amount of fuel they use. So if everybody's really concerned about tailpipe emissions and carbon emissions, wouldn't it be better if you had 30, 40, 50% of the population using 30% less fuel than 2 or 3% using none? That's what we have right now with electric cars. And as I mentioned, one hybrid battery pack or one EV battery pack could make dozens and dozens of hybrid battery packs. It's a very inefficient use of our resources. So that's why I like hybrid cars. Until we get to the point where EVs are really mass produced and inexpensive and most people can afford them. And we're nowhere near that right now. More cars have hollow feeling plastics and headliners. I don't know. It depends on the grade of car. Like, I'll take a new Toyota Corolla interior over a 10-year-old Toyota Corolla. It all depends on the price. Here's David saying, great content as always. With the RS3 delayed in Canada, any fun small new cars like Golf R coming in the next 2 years? I don't know. I haven't really looked down the pipe that far. And here's the other thing is, who knows what the hell's going to happen in the next 6 weeks, never mind the next 2 years. Yeah, I mean, the STI's not being brought out. They're not going to have that. I don't know. There's some really nice used high-performance cars that I would have over anything new. And they're going to sound better, too. Hi, please guide how long it will take for a Sienna 2022 to come available in Toronto area. I booked the car with dealership 4 months ago and still no response. Please advise. Should I wait? What I would do is any car that you have ordered is keep in contact with your dealer. And if you're not getting any answers from your salesperson, then go in, walk into the dealer personally and ask to speak to the sales manager. Don't be rude. Just say to them, hey, listen, I ordered this car. Just curious where we are with it. When do you think I'm going to get it? Everybody is delayed. Every car brand has issues with fulfilling orders. So I wouldn't take your name out of the queue. I would stay in the queue, and when it comes, you'll get it. That's my best advice. But if you're wondering when it's coming, I can't answer that for you. Only the brand can do that. So don't be rude. Don't get up in their face and their grill. Just go in there and say, hey, remember me? I ordered a Sienna. Just curious with your internal interwebs. Where is it at and how long do you think it'll take? And they'll have a better answer than me. All right, I think we have some more super chats coming in now. Paul, what is your favorite car movie, TV show, or song? My favorite car movie, TV show, or song. My favorite car movie. Oh, what was that? Ronin? Was that the movie with the car chase in Europe? With the E34 M5? That's probably my favorite car chase. My favorite song, my favorite driving song is Stone Temple Pilots' Interstate Love Song. That's a good one. Going to California, Led Zeppelin. But Stone Temple Pilots' Interstate Love Song. That's a great song for driving in the car. Jerome again. Jerome breaking the bank. I suggest a bigger incentive for EVs for people who make less than $50,000 a year. If you're serious about EV, it shouldn't only be for upper middle class. Okay, so I don't agree with that one. What I suggest we have, so we have this reverse EV rebate that I came up with, right? But we should also do what we used to do here in British Columbia. Years ago, we had our Liberal government with Gordon Campbell. We had a rebate for small, inexpensive cars. So I know they've all left the marketplace, but cars like the Toyota Yaris, the Honda Fit, the Kia Rio, small subcompact cars. If you bought one of those cars here in British Columbia, you got $1,000 off. So these cars used to be $15,000, $16,000, and they don't use much gas. They're cheap to insure, but they're good basic transportation. Ford Fiesta, car like that. So I would suggest that we have rebates to get people into more fuel-efficient vehicles. You know what are inexpensive cars and are fuel-efficient? Sedans. The Kia Forte, the Honda Civic, the Hyundai Elantra, cars like that. So imagine if you said, if you're really trying to help people who don't have a lot of money, if you buy a sub $20,000 car that's really good on gas, you get $1,000. Or you get $2,000 if you buy a hybrid. So, but it has to be under a certain price. Same thing. You're trying to drive the price of vehicles down. So if you're really doing this to get people who don't have a lot of money some personal transportation, then do it on the cars that are less expensive. So say like a Toyota Prius, the car that you're talking about. You give $2,000 off the cost of a Toyota Prius. First of all, the base model isn't that expensive relative to a lot of other new cars. It's got a lot of space on the inside. And for a lot of people who don't have a lot of money, it's very reliable. And it's going to do what they need to do to get their kids to school and pick up groceries. So I think that this whole EV or nothing mentality is silly. I think if you're going to have rebates, you should have this reverse rebate incentive I talked about. The biggest rebate is on the least expensive EVs, and then you get maybe a couple $1,000s off a cheap hybrid and maybe $1,000 off an inexpensive fuel-efficient car. Huh? What do you think? All right. Just some ideas. Hopefully someone will run with them. What we need is, we don't just need a small amount of people driving electric cars. We need everybody to use less fuel. That's the goal. Plus, we're going to have an issue with maybe a shortage of oil in the world shortly here. Okay. Here's Jim. Hello, everyone. Come on, chips. We need cars. That's funny. You should breed chips. So what I understand is it takes a long time to get chip manufacturing up and running. Everything I've read, it's like a chip facility. It takes 2 years from when you start it to when chips finally roll off the other end. I'm really considering a new 4 Series Grand Coupe. Nice car. A5 looks outdated. Any direct competitors from Mercedes? Not a Stinger fan. That's too bad about the Stinger because that's a hell of a lot of car for the money. Listen, if you're in that ballpark, do yourself a favor. Get a 4 Series Grand Coupe with the inline, so you want the M40 engine. That's the real difference between the A5 Sportback and the BMW, is that engine. So if you're basically just thinking about the base 4-cylinder turbo, it's a coin toss between the two. The difference is that inline 6. So get the Grand Coupe, but please get the 40i. Here's Josh. Josh, my bro is thinking about giving back his Golf R for a profit and getting a Wrangler 4xe. Good lease with rebates in Quebec. See, there you go. Thoughts on this mod of Wrangler? Thanks. So there's a perfect example. So here's somebody that can afford a Golf R and it can afford a Wrangler 4xe and is going to get money from you and me and the Quebec government to buy it. That, in my opinion, is ridiculous. Yeah, I got no problem with the 4xe. I mean, fill your boots. The great thing about the Wrangler is the resale value is through the roof. So, yeah. By the way, Josh, how's the Tesla Model Y going? And by the way, Josh, last week I got you and Eric mixed up, my two Montreal guys, and I was talking about him, and I thought it was you. Any car reviews from Core? Not for a while. I've been Andrea and I have been so busy over the last 2 years, ever since we started doing the videos together, and I've been kind of taking a break from doing extra videos with Core just because we're not kind of getting burnt out. We're just, just take a little bit of the pressure off the production cycle, because you got to know we're always shooting and always editing and always working. Like, we do 100 car videos, new car reviews a year. That's a lot of work. And so to take that off the plate just lets us focus on what we really do, which is the new stuff. If there's something really, really cool and different, yeah, I'd love to get back out there. Missed the past few live shows. A very relaxing hour in my week. Great talk. Well, thanks for that. Appreciate that. Heinz Tang. How would you compare the Hyundai Santa Fe calligraphy top trim to the Genesis GV70 Advanced models? Both have the same modern, similar options, technologies, and the GV70 worth the $9,000 more. It comes down to the platform and the all-wheel drive system. So the Santa Fe calligraphy is a front-wheel bias all-wheel drive system. So you've got to know the Santa Fe and the Tucson, that platform, is developed as a front-wheel drive model, and then they add the all-wheel drive. And it's not the same all-wheel drive system. Now think about the GV70. So that starts out as a front-wheel drive SUV platform. So the base model CRV, the base model Tucson, and the Santa Fe. Okay, the GV70 starts its life as a G70 sedan, and it starts as a rear-wheel drive sports sedan. Then they add all-wheel drive, then they put a new top on it and make it into an SUV. So they come from very different places. So yes, they've got the same power plant, but they drive differently because of the way that the all-wheel drive system has been developed. One is a rear-wheel drive bias and the other one is a front-wheel drive bias. And they have very different dynamics. Then the platforms are different, and I would suggest that the GV70 platform is more tuned for a performance sort of driving feel, where the calligraphy is just a good basic utility. There's no wrong answer here. I totally agree with you. When you start speccing out a fully loaded Santa Fe and the features and the size and everything that you get and that available high-performance engine, and then you look at the GV70, you sort of think to yourself, well, hey, it's got more space, it's got the same engine, it's less expensive, and, arguably looks as good on the inside and the outside. But it's not exactly the same. They come from different places, okay? They're not exactly the same. Volkswagen enthusiast says, just picked up my AMG GT53 a couple days ago, and I love it. What are your thoughts? Well, my thought is you're going to have to change your handle from Volkswagen enthusiast to AMG enthusiast. Good for you. Congratulations. Would you recommend a Kia Sorento EX or the SX? Is the extra cast worth it? Listen, I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me when it comes to what's in it and what's important to you. This is a gut check for you. So go online, look at the different trims, what's in it versus what you have to have versus what you need. So there's stuff that you have to have and there's stuff that you kind of want to have. Can you live without it? What's the difference in price? How much more is it going to cost you? Often it's how much more a month. So I can't answer those things for you. And off the top of my head, I don't know what's in each one. My favorite of all wasn't high interest rates or lease. I don't know what that means. William, I don't know who needs to hear this, but electricity is generated from coal in large part. Well, that is true. It all depends on where you live. Big swaths of the United States still generate electricity with coal. Even California, good old green California. Do you know that Los Angeles has all of these oil wells? Did you know that? Oil wells all throughout the Los Angeles basin. It's all sitting on top of oil. As you leave LAX and you head north on Sepulveda, is that what it is? There's all these big fences, and in behind there are the oil derricks pumping oil. Some people even have oil wells in their backyard. It's crazy, right? Anyway, we're kind of getting off topic. How clean your car is really dependent on how clean your grid is. So an electric car in China is not that green because most of their electricity is made from coal. An electric car used here in British Columbia or the province of Quebec is very green because most, if not all, of the electricity is created by spilling water over a dam, hydroelectric energy, which is clean. So it all depends on where you're from and what kind of electric grid you have. Okay, we have another super chat here, I believe. Jared. I bought a white 2022 Subaru Crosstrek outdoor after watching you and Andrea's review. The 2.5 really wakes it up. Very torquey. It was the last one in Nova Scotia. Now the wait at least 4 months. Hey, good. That's the one to buy. There is no question in my mind that the Crosstrek is the best subcompact utility. And if you're going to buy one, get the 2.5 liter. And that outdoor trim is... Subaru Canada has absolutely perfectly priced that car at $30,000. It is right under the pain threshold of 30 grand. So well done. There you go. I think that you bought a great product, especially for times when we have crappy weather on the East Coast, those big snowstorms and what have you. Okay. Where was I? Oh, by the way, we have almost 400 people on board right now with 139 thumbs up. If you guys could give it, we just went up over 400. If you could give it a thumbs up, that would be great. That always helps. It doesn't hurt, I'll tell you that. Hi, Zach. My family and I are moving to Vancouver from Montreal. Great. We want to bring our 2-year-old X3. Can you recommend a reputable vehicle transportation company? Okay, so I've shipped cars across the country, and I use a rail freight delivery company called Hanson's. And so just put car shipping Hanson's. Now, from Montreal to here, I'll estimate it roughly around $1,500, okay? So a couple of ways that you can bring the price down is not doing door-to-door delivery. So you can drop your X3 at the rail yard where Hanson's picks the car up. So, you say get your wife to drive you in another car. You drop your X3 at the rail yard, and then all they have to do is put it on the train. And then when you get here, you pick it up from the terminus here. So that beginning and end, so from your door to the rail yard and from the rail yard to your door, that's where the price really goes up. So you reduce your overall cost by taking it to the rail yard yourself and picking it up. So my dad came out here about 5 years ago, and he shipped his Golf out, his Golf wagon. I think it was $1,300. So I'd guess about $1,500. Okay, one thing you want to make sure is it's a covered rail car. Okay, you don't want it outside. So a lot of the rail cars are exposed, so they do have covered ones. So try and get it in a covered rail car. Hanson's is one. and then you can go from there. So good luck with it. It's way better than driving it out. Like people say, oh, I'm just going to drive my car out. So you're going to put 5,000 kilometers on the car. You've got to pay for hotels. You got to eat. You got to pay for the gas. And then you got to pay for the oil change before and after you go. So by the time you add all that up, with 5 days of 4 or 5 days of travel, hotels, food, gas, and the wear and tear on the car, stick it on a train. It arrives here with exactly the same mileage on it as when you left it. No wear and tear. You didn't have to buy any meals. You didn't have to stay in a crappy hotel somewhere down the highway. That's the way to do it, if you ask me. Unless you have loads of time and you want to tour the country, that's the way to do it. Vanilla Donut. That's a good name. I like that name. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Alberta, Saskatchewan are the only ones with majority non-hydroelectric generation. So most of the population are in other provinces are essentially renewables, mainly hydropower. That's true. And then you have nuclear power in other parts of the country. All right, I just realized that we've been on the air here now for 1 hour. It's my youngest son's birthday tomorrow. Charlie turns 17 tomorrow. So tomorrow's a school night, so we're going out for dinner tonight. So I'm going to wrap it up here, say thanks to everybody. Spread my idea around about the reverse electric car rebate, rebates for small, inexpensive, gasoline, fuel-efficient cars, like $1,000 off, and then a couple of grand off for a hybrid. That would make some change. And it would help people who don't have a lot of money for a new car. I don't need to be spending $10,000 on rebates for someone on a $60,000 car. I think that's just stupid, in my opinion. All right, I'm done. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm so thrilled Canada qualified for the World Cup. That was exciting to watch. And all we need now is the Vancouver Canucks to make the playoffs. And I'm all set. All right, see you later. Bye now.